interventions. Okay, so by the end of this presentation, you should be able to know the different theories, the classic theories, the behavioral theories, and the contemporary theories. So we're going to look at a number of them, about, I'm not certain, could be about 7 or 8. We'll see. We'll see how we can really apply these theories in our practice, and what are the limitations of these theories. So that's what we shall look at in this presentation. So when we talk about management theories, we talk about the ideas or the general rules that we can use in managing an organization, or even managing people in an organization. So they help us in guiding people towards achieving the objectives of the organization. Okay, so you get knowledge about the different theories and how best you can actually use them to accomplish company goals or organizational goals. So we have different theories. We have a number of them. And they can be categorized into two. You can say we have what we call modern management theories, and then we have the early management theories, or what you can call the traditional management theories. So we are going to look at the early management theories first, and then we shall look at the modern management theories. But this does not mean that the traditional management theories or the early management theories are no longer applicable. That is not what it means. They are still applicable in management. So we shall start with the scientific theory, and then look at the administrative theory of management, and then the human relations theory, or the human relations movement. And then after those, then we shall look at the modern theories. Okay, so let's start with the scientific theory. Frederick Taylor is known as the initiator of the idea of scientific theory. He lived from 1846 to 1917. He recognized that managers did not know how to supervise their subordinates. So they were trying uh, different methods to make sure that there is improvement in productivity. But there was no way the managers then could actually improve efficiency and productivity amongst employees. So he set out to go and look for the best way possible in order to increase the productivity of employees in an organization. Okay, so he analyzed how employees worked in especially industry or factories. So he determined, or what he saw was that there was no structure in the kinds of job that the employees were actually doing, or the kind of task that they were doing. So he devised the mechanisms that can be used to improve efficiency, performance of the employees. Okay, so what he did was to break down the jobs into smaller tasks that can be easily accomplished with great efficiency. Okay, and then he also introduced the issue of using time as one of the things that can be used for designing jobs. Then he also introduced the reward system for those that performed extremely well. Then rewarded them. Okay, so basically we can analyze what or there are four principles in what Taylor did. From my explanation, one, I said that he looked at the jobs and broke them into smaller tasks that can be easily accomplished. And then he also made sure that there is a way, a scientific method in which a particular job can be performed or a particular task can be performed. And then, if after knowing, after splitting these tasks, then you assign the best equipped person to take over that role. Okay, so this is where um, you look at people's abilities and say, this one can do this role, this one can do the other role. And then the other component is about training, that the staff need to be trained on how to do their jobs. Okay, and then that the management and the employees actually need to collaborate, or they need to work closely in a collaborating manner. Okay, so those are the four principles Taylor's scientific management theory. So how can we really apply it? So you look at your work environment and see the people that you really have. What tasks are they doing? Are they doing a number of tasks and then they end up being non-productive, wasting a lot of time moving from one office to the other? So how can you make sure that people are actually more efficient in their jobs? Okay, so that's how we actually apply Taylor's theory of management, which is basically the administrative theory of management. So you train people, you give people the jobs that are well suited to. You make sure that the way you communicate and work together is conducive. You don't have a toxic relationship, and you also look at what is the output, what is the efficiency. If you give them a task, how easily can they perform it? What are the things that are limiting their performance? Then you can actually work on them. So the limitations or the criticisms of the theory is that human work is actually complex. So when you look at this theory, there is an oversimplification of how people do work. So there are a lot of motivators which are internal and external, which drive how people do their work. So just simply by training and also splitting this up may not necessarily um, bring out the best out of things. Okay, and there is no great deal about the the well-being of the employees according to the theory. Okay, and then the other issue is that it is very hard to apply the theory in complex public health work, which often involves collaboration. So those are the limitations of the scientific theory of management. So let's look at another theory, which is by Weber. Weber is a German sociologist who lived in 1860 to 1920. So Weber is responsible for what we call the bureaucratic theory of management, or the theory of bureaucratic management. What are the emphasis in this theory? One is that in an organization, there should be a well-defined hierarchy, their rules and regulations, and their lines of authority. Who is at the top, who is at the middle, who is at the bottom, and what are the rules governing their work. Okay, and then an ideal bureaucratic organization is one which is rational with well thought out activities and objectives. We are going to look at the other futures shortly. So one, in the lines of authority, people have authority and they derive this authority from different sources. Okay, we have what you call traditional authority. Basically, authority is the right to give orders. Okay, the right to give orders is what you call authority. So we have different types of authority, or we have people have authority that is derived from different sources. Traditional authority based on customs, tradition, and kingship. For example, if you are the son of the king, you're the son of the queen, or you're related to the queen, or whatever it is, okay? It's about the customs, the traditions, the chiefdoms, and others. And then we have charismatic authority, okay? These are people who portray power by their personality, okay? Their presence alone conveys power. So that is charismatic authority. And then we have people who have authority because they have been appointed into given positions, okay? And therefore, for example, if any of you is appointed a governor, okay? When you are appointed as a governor, uh, you 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 have power to even fire commissioners, fire state ministers, whatever it is. It is provided for by the constitution, or basically by the rules and regulations. Or if you, from your position, you're elevated to the chief executive director of the organization, you have authority to make decisions on behalf of the organization. So that kind of authority is what you call rational legal authority. Okay. And then in other contexts, you can have people uh, having authority because of different reasons that I've not mentioned here. So, like I said earlier on, according to Weber, an ideal organization uh, is one that he referred to as one where authority is derived from rational legal authority. Okay, so basically look at our government departments, agencies, whatever it is that you think about. They have what you call bureaucratic. Basically, the setting is a bureaucratic setting. So their ideal bureaucratic agencies, okay, whether it is ministries, whether it is any public health agency, whatever it is, okay, the people who are leading those agencies are appointed in those positions by either it could be the president, it could be the governor, it could be any other appointing authority. So when they're appointed, they're given instruments of power, okay? And therefore, they have rules, regulations, and procedures on how to do things and exercise power during their tenure. So a bureaucratic organization, like I said, there are rules and regulations. People are appointed uh, based on their knowledge and the ability to perform certain specialized tasks. So specialization is very important. For example, appointing the undersecretary for Ministry of Health. There is no way you can appoint someone who does not have knowledge in health and you appoint that person as the undersecretary, because the undersecretary position is one that requires technical knowledge. Okay, so there is specialization is very important. You need to have the knowledge and skills to be able to execute the roles and undersecretary for Ministry of Health. And then there is a hierarchy. Okay, there is hierarchy, which demonstrates who has what power, who has the power or the authority or the right to order the other. That is very important. So there are levels: the top management, then the mid-level management, and then the bottom or the operational staff on ground, on the lowest level. And then we also have competence-based appointments, which relates to the specialization that I talked about. The appointments are based on merit, also on competences that people have. And then there is impersonality. Okay, there is impersonality. The rules are applied universally. This is to say that there is nothing like this is my relative and should be handled like this. No, there is no human face in a bureaucratic organization. Okay, there is no human face in a bureaucratic organization. Therefore, there is nothing like bending rules because of a certain person issue or that has arisen. No, there is nothing like that. And then there is a routine for activities. Okay, um, and the secretary always do almost the same things over and over again. You will have the DG doing the same things over and over again. The different directors. Okay, so they are doing basically routine activities. And then this also a point which is related to the impersonality is the separation of officials from ownership. This is one of the issues that we actually face currently with our governance structures. That if you follow political matters, you realize that there are organizations or agencies where the person who is leading it, if the person has a family problem, it is very easy for them to go to the account of the agency and withdraw money and then use it for family matters. With this, there is no separation of being the official working for an agency, basically something like ownership. It's like there are people who are actually owning these agencies. You go to certain agencies and you see that there is no decision that can be taken if so and so is not there. It's like they own the whole agency. So those practices are not actually good and they're not supposed to be practiced in bureaucratic organizations. Mainly, most of the agencies in government agencies are actually bureaucratic in nature. You go and do your work, and then go. If you're going for your personal life, you don't mix it with work. If you are absent, the organization should be able to move even in your absence. So that is what we call separation of officials from ownership. So bureaucratic is actually very good, especially if the principles are followed. If people are not mixing personal issues with work, then you know that if the top management is not there, maybe there's the person in the acting capacity who can still exercise some level of authority and therefore be able to make decisions. But in our case, we are still lacking in that direction. That you will have a DG moving from a given for whatever activity, maybe it is a holiday, maybe it is a sick leave, and until that person comes back, there's nothing that will go. Yet in a bureaucratic setting, you will have different levels and you can actually delegate some of these activities. And then people are chosen to do what they actually know, and therefore there is efficiency. Okay, so specialization brings about efficiency, which is very, very important. The impersonality brings in fairness. Okay, the impersonality brings in fairness. The impersonality, especially in recruitment, where we are having nepotism. Okay, you don't have to look at the person in an angle whether they are related to you by tribe or they are basically your relatives or your friends. You basically look at meritocracy. Okay, now that is where impersonality actually comes in. Okay, so if you If you're in recruitment or in promotion, you look at how you're related to certain people, and then you will not be fair in the way you're executing the activities of the organization. And then the clear guidance can actually easily facilitate decision making, especially if you the organogram is very clear, the constitution, or the different guidelines on how an agency is actually governed. If they are well laid out, then decision making can easily take place. Okay, there are certain decisions that can be made by the DG, but because um, the proper management principles are not being followed in our agencies, and they may have to always wait for the undersecretary. So these are things that bring inefficiency. But if the DG, Director General, understands their responsibility, then they will not have to wait for the undersecretary or the minister to make decisions. So criticisms, yes. One is that these rules are sometimes very, very rigid. Okay, they're extremely very rigid. Okay, because the rules are very tight, there is no room for flexibility, and that is very dangerous. And then the impersonality sometimes, you see, sometimes the way you run an organization or an agency, there is need to be that human face that can pop up in certain situations. But sticking to the bureaucratic procedures or rules or principles, there is that uh, rigidity that comes uh, with the impersonality element of bureaucratic organizations. And decision making can also be very slow. Like I said, if the rules are not very clear, sometimes the DG cannot make decisions without the knowledge of the minister or the undersecretary. So you have a lot of issues there. So we move to the third theory, which is the administrative theory of management, developed by a French industrialist called Henrique Fayol. Okay? For him, he came up with principles and practices that can enable organizations work effectively and efficiently. So we are going to look at these principles. Okay, so there are 14 principles, and you should know how they actually work. It is very important to understand these principles. One is authority and responsibility. Authority, earlier on said, is the right to give orders. Okay, and then employees have the responsibility to carry out them. Okay, so within an organization, if you have managers who cannot give their subordinates orders to perform certain tasks, then nothing will move. You will have a dysfunctional organization. And then you have division of labor. A person of finance should do their financial role. Okay, if they do other jobs, they may become inefficient. Okay, and they do not develop the expertise or the competency that you actually require as the organization grows. And then we move to what you call unity of command. Okay, each employee should report to only one supervisor. You cannot serve two bosses at the same time. It will create confusion and conflict. And then we have SCADA chain, which is provide a clear chain of command for clear uh, communication and decision making. So if the undersecretary cannot make the decision, then the minister can make the decision. Or if the DG cannot make the decision, then the undersecretary can make the decision. If the DG cannot, if the director cannot make a decision, then the DG can make a decision. Okay, so clear communication and decision making should be, there should be a clear chain of that kind of communication, decision making. So we move to discipline. There should be rules that govern the organization. Therefore, people should actually follow these rules. Okay? People should follow these rules. So discipline should always be maintained within an organization. And then you have remuneration, which is about paying people for the work that they do. Okay, paying people fairly or compensating them according to their work and the value they bring to the organization. Okay, that is very important. And then centralization is about decision making. Um, where are decisions made? Is it at the top? If it is at the top, then we have centralization. Okay, if the decisions are made at the bottom, then you have decentralization. Okay, so the decision making of powers or authority, where do they lie? Okay, if they lie with the top management, then that is what we call centralization. And then order. Order is about placing people and materials in the right place for optimal function. Okay, so where is the reception place? Let us say in a hospital, the reception should be um, closer to the entrance because you don't want to put the reception behind the building. Okay, so putting the people and materials in the right place is very, very important. And then equity, treating people fairly and with respect. Don't discriminate people according to color, tribe, or religion. And then stability of tenure. You don't want people to always be what we call a revolving door. Okay, a revolving door. When we say that, we mean that there are people entering the organization and there are people leaving the organization. You have fired one today, and then tomorrow you're hiring. Some of the things we see then with NGOs. Someone is hired today on a 3 months contract, and then the 3 months elapse, and then they go home. And then the next day you see the advert for the same position, and then they recruit another. That is lack of tenure, stability of tenure. Okay, you don't want to keep people moving in and out of the organization. You want to retain people within the organization. It's very important. It's about loyalty. It's about institutional memory. It's about long-term commitment. That's what you want in an organization. So initiative, encouraging people to take their own initiative. This is to say that employees should be free to come up with ideas and even implement them as long as it is for the benefit of the organization. And then the spirit of corps is about working together. That spirit of togetherness within an organization is very important for teamwork. And then subordination of individual interest to the general interest is that when you work within an organization, it should be the aim of everyone to make sure that the organization succeeds in comparison to individual needs. Okay, if you look at football teams, you can have a football club where a particular footballer is about winning individual awards without putting a lot of effort in winning the trophy. When you win the trophy, it is for the whole club. When you win individual awards, like let us say um, individual awards like the player who has scored most goals, the top scorer. Okay, if you become the top scorer and your team is mid-table, then it doesn't help. Okay, because the overall club performance has not been extremely very good. And then unity of direction, all activities and efforts should be aligned towards organization's overall goals. Okay, um, organizations have goals and all the resources, all the activities should be aligned towards meeting that goal. Okay, so everyone should work towards that same goal. So how do you apply the administrative theory of management? And make sure that you streamline management process or administrative processes. Have strong leaders or strong managers to promote the organizational goals and ensure that you have efficiency and good working relations with staff. So we move to the limitations. Of course, there's some there's some degree of rigidity, okay, and then there is a lot of focus on top management, and it has not really fully accounted for the employee input. And then the other thing is that it has limited application uh, for certain organizations. It's not suitable for all organizations. Okay, so those are the limitations of the administrative theory of management. So we move to another theory, which is the hierarchy of needs theory of management. Here we have the person called Abraham Maslow. He's the one responsible for the theory. The theory places interest or focus on making sure that the needs of the employees or individuals working within the organization are fulfilled. And those needs start with basic needs like food, shelter, have to uh, them feeling safety, love, belonging, esteem, and finally self-actualization. Okay, so if you are the manager, always think about this. What needs do the employees need have, and how can you fulfill those needs? If you do that, then the employees will be motivated and they will work, and then the organizational goals will be achieved. If these needs are met, then people are very secure with their jobs. People are very social, they work together, they will collaborate, and you have positive relations within the team. Okay, so recognize these needs. Some of these needs may not be monetary in nature. Praising them, rewarding them, having those interactions with them, social activities with them, social or team building activities. These are very important because they contribute to some of the needs that the employees may have. Then when you fulfill them, then you are going to create a positive work environment. So support them, support their growth. That's where you have people being supported for further training, uh, their, that participation in their lives, even in their social lives, if they are having a particular milestone that they have achieved, and that kind of um, showing support is very, very important. It creates a connection, which is very positive. Yes. They usually say that take care of people's stomachs, and then people will take care of your business. That saying does not come from the blue. Okay, that's why uh, you have accommodation allowance, food allowance, transport allowance, all the things basically to meet the needs of the employees such that they are motivated, engaged, productive, and satisfied, such that they are not looking for the next opportunity available so that they can move. The limitations is one that you see people don't have the same needs. So how will you know that these are the needs that they have? And so you may not apply it to every individual or every organization. So it is not a one size fits all. So you need to understand that people have different needs. They have different personalities, life experiences that affect their motivation, also therefore affect their productivity. Okay, so in order to address some, you see, some people have higher needs, and then you have those who have lower level needs. Okay, so it needs you to really examine the needs that they have, such that you can really apply the theory appropriately. Okay. So we move to the next theory, which is the human rational theory. Is understanding people, human factors in social dynamics, uh, human factor, social dynamics, and employee motivation in organizational success. Okay, so it is about getting as a manager, you need to get interested in what people actually feel and the kind of social network, the social support and motivation that they actually have, such that you can be able to address some of the issues that they're actually facing as humans. So therefore, this requires communication, a positive work environment that can actually allow this kind of communication to understand them personal levels. Okay, I think for today, let's end at those traditional theories of management. Tomorrow, we can start with the modern theories of management. Uh, unless you have any questions, let's do this. Just that.